Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Change Your Mind podcast, where we explore the intersection between personal development, spirituality, and science. I'm your host, Kris Ashley. I'm really excited for today's episode. We have an amazing guest today. First, a couple quick announcements. If you head to the links in the show notes, you'll find a link to my book, Change Your Mind to Change Your Reality. It was endorsed by 3 experts from The Secret. It was endorsed by John Gray, Anita Moorjani, and it's available in paperback, ebook, audiobook, so go check it out. You'll also find links to some free giveaways, to my courses, to coaching, to events, lots going on. And as always, this podcast is part of the Los Angeles Tribune Podcast Network. We're doing a lot of amazing events in the personal development realm. There's amazing other podcasters. Check us out. And let's get into it. Hi, I'm Kris. When I was younger, I went through trauma that caused me to feel broken and lost. But my life changed after I had a spiritual awakening. Since then, I've dedicated my life to studying and learning from masters all around the world that have helped me to create a life of fulfillment and abundance beyond my wildest dreams. Now I'm dedicated to sharing everything I've learned so that you don't have to suffer for decades like I did. I've seen people's lives completely transformed, and I share it all right here. So with me today, I have Kornelia Stephanie. So Kornelia is a podcast host and founder of the KS Media Group. She is also the author of Peace, the FlipSide to Anger, How I Used My Emotions to Heal My Life and Body and How You Can Too. That sounds right up my alley. I'm excited to hear about that. Her life's work has been undoing all the old conditioning and old beliefs and healing her emotional core wounding. As a way shower and an ascension guide, her role is to demonstrate how it's done and share the experience along the way. Welcome, Kornelia. I'm so excited you're here.
There we go. Welcome. Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Just a little backstory. I've been on Kornelia's show twice, so we've already had some really great conversations. Check out her podcast, by the way. It's phenomenal. But yeah, so Kornelia, I always start my episodes the exact same way. And that is by asking my guest, what is their origin story? So I'd love to hear your story of how you became this healer and teacher who wrote this book and started this podcast.
Well, it started, I want to say, a long time ago. I think, we can sit here and we can look at our lives and say, this is when this started, this is when this started. But I think my journey began long before I even came here and incarnated here on earth this time. I think on a spiritual level, I have been preparing for coming here at this particular point in time for a long time. So many lifetimes ago of preparation, of learning and soul development and soul growth. So coming into this life at this particular point in time, so many of us were called here at this time to come here to support our evolution on this planet, to support and take the planet, all of us, moving into higher vibrational ways of living and being. And, because the earth is ascending, the earth is moving into a higher vibrational way of living and being. And we are taking our physical bodies up into that vibrational frequency, that vibrational way. And so that's really where it all began. And then, you have wounding to heal and deal with, and you have traumatic events take place in your life. So, I had a lot of challenges that I had to overcome as a little girl. Alcoholic parents. I grew up in an interracial household in Germany. And my mother was the sole provider in the family, and she was working 3 jobs, those kinds of things. So I was right away as a little girl supporting my family's household, supporting my mother, and having to put my own emotional needs aside, which I know that a lot of other people my age have also had to do, because we had to help in the family. I had to help my mother. So there were a lot of wounds, a lot of things that I didn't get my emotional needs met in my childhood, which later on when I wrote the book, how I healed my emotion, how I healed my body, how I healed my life with the power of my emotions, was really part of my healing as a human being and also as a soul. And also, the emotional core wounding, the mother wound, um, abandonment, betrayal, feeling not good enough, feeling not worthy, separation from God, separation from source, shame, a big one. So these are all the woundings that a lot of us have come here to heal so that we can live on the earth as she moves into a higher vibrational way of living and being, and that we can live out our true destiny of who it is that we really are. We're not those abandoned little children or whatever. We're not the stories of our parents and what we were born into. We came here to experience and live our best lives, our amazing things that we can do. And so, yeah, it's been. I also had suicidal ideation that I had to overcome. So for years and years and years, up until I was in my mid-30s, was I uh, plagued by suicide, wanting to that shadow of suicide showing itself in my field, in myself, and not taking action on that. I mean, as many times as I tried to commit suicide, but my angelic team, did interventions to support me to not be able to succeed in that. And for that, I'm very grateful because it's a miracle that I'm here. And it's so that's why when people say, when people want to take their own life and uh, be suicidal, I found that it's not necessarily that you want to take your own life. What it comes down to is that you want to kill the pain. So you want to kill the pain because you don't see a way out. You don't see a way out. So you want to kill the pain, and that's what you want to stop. So, so many people have also healed themselves and not acting on the suicide so that we can have a new way forward, that it's possible to heal from our wounding. It's possible to heal the shadow of suicide. These are all things that are possible, and it doesn't need to be people don't necessarily need to act on it. They just need to know that what it is that they want to kill is the pain. So there was a lot of training when you're asking me about this, what's the origin of my story, a lot of training to get to the place of where I am today. And that is a person that almost can't even identify with that anymore.
Mm. Yeah, don't you love that?
Totally. It's like almost can't even identify. It almost feels like that was another lifetime ago, which really it was. It was another lifetime ago. And now it's a completely different story, and it's a completely different life. And so it is the freedom that we can experience here on earth, that we can do this. We came here to do this, and we came here to experience the miraculous and to do good things. And so, that's part of the way showing that I was talking about in my bio as well.
Well, thank you for all of that. I really, really deeply appreciated everything that you said. And I've never had a guest start with past lives before, but
Oh,
it's so important because what you were talking about, everything that you've gone through in other lives was preparing you for this. I would argue that's the same for every person on earth, right? Like
mm,
we've all gone through past lives and we've all had these learnings and growth, and now the next lesson is here, right? And we've all chosen to be here for a reason, right? Like you said, we are here to help the rise in consciousness. I know when I did a QHHT session, a past life regression hypnosis, I learned that I was a volunteer here. I volunteered to be here to help humanity and earth rise in consciousness. So it's a really exciting time to be alive. And then all the 3D stuff that you mentioned, the shame, the depression, all of that, I think that's really relatable for a lot of people. And I appreciated what you said about the depression wanting to kill the pain. And I also wonder if there's some part of you with the suicide that wanted to go home, right? Because it's hard, especially for light workers or empaths or us who have volunteered to be here. It's hard to be in dense 3D earth, learning these lessons, doing this hard work. And when we know that we're from this other place, there's that longing sometimes. Um, and it all of this makes me think, like, how do we navigate this 3D earth, knowing that we are these spiritual beings who have soul contracts to be here, and we are so much more than our bodies, our thoughts, our emotions, our everything, but we still have to be here on 3D earth. We still have to be human. So how do we even navigate that?
I think that's a really good question. And, I know that you already know this about what I'm about to say, because I know that you are already in this consciousness, but you know that we are multidimensional beings, right?
Mm.
We are multidimensional beings. So uh, I am home. I am home right now. I am home. And so that's a big piece, because again, in our physical body, where spirit is right now, where my spirit is, I am home here, and it feels good here, and it feels good where I am. So that is part of the learning and the lessons that we have had to uh, that life has gifted us to embrace, that these vessels that we're in, these human body suits that we're occupying, that to make that place inside the most sweetest, juiciest place to be,
Mm.
and then live your day-to-day life the best way that you can, expressing that spirit, because you talked about the 3D, the 3D reality. So the 3D is our daily life. It is our daily life, but we're operating from, a higher consciousness once we've healed these wounds, and once we've, made peace with our past, or our pasts, I should say. Then we can live our lives to be fully present, and to be fully here, and to be fully home. And I don't have that longing anymore to be somewhere else, because you said it earlier. We chose to be here. And I'm continuously choosing to be here. I think for me, what it came down to was, I wrote a quote before, that we didn't come here to fit in. We came here to co-create the new.
Mm.
We came here to co-create the new earth. That's what we came here to do. We didn't come to fit in. And just maybe part of what I was experiencing, I did feel like my body was a kettle full of pain as an empath. There was so much to feel. And sometimes it's just so much that it's too overwhelming to feel all of this, because we're multisensory and we can feel all of these things, that it was just too much. And the more that we can heal and uh, personally develop and fall in love, because that was also another one of my wounds, is I had self-hatred at my core. So self-hatred, right? I discovered that I actually hated myself. Hate, a word that I never even speak about in my life. I don't use the word hate for anything, not even with what's going on, the craziness that's happening in the world. I don't use the word hate, but I had hate at my core for myself. And that self-hatred had to be replaced with radical self-love.
I relate to that a lot. I actually also had self-hatred, and that's also a word that I never use. Like, even just saying it makes me like cringe a little bit. And, I appreciate that. And I appreciate what you said about how we are home. We have this higher self, right? That's on the other side of the veil. There's just this little piece of us that's incarnated here. Like all of us couldn't even fit inside of a human body, right? That's too much energy for this little human body to contain. So I appreciate that. Like everything's happening simultaneously. There's other dimensions, past lives or parallel lives. All of this is happening. Um, and you also said, there's a lot of tough emotions to deal with as a human on this planet. And I think one of the strongest ones is fear, right? There's so much fear here. And it feels like, you know, being able to see that fear is this illusion is part of coming home to love as well. And we always teach what we need to hear too. I teach this stuff, and then now as a new mom, I'm finding myself having these anxieties, right? I'm like, I have to step back and remind myself, like, wait, no, this is, my baby is contracted to be here. Whatever he's meant to do is going to happen, and everything's okay. But it's easy to slip into this fear. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on, practical ways that people can help overcome that.
So good. I mean, even this morning on my walk, I discovered doubts, right? Discovered and what am I feeling? What am I releasing? What am I letting go of? And what am I so tired of? What am I so tired of? And I'm walking in this beautiful magical garden with beautiful trees, and it's gorgeous, and it's early morning and the sun is about to rise, and I spoke it out and I go, yeah, I'm just noticing these doubts that I'm having right now. Doubts. And so, you know uh, doubt again is a dream killer. Doubt is something that holds you back and stops you from living your dreams, stops you because you don't doubt that you can take that leap, that you can move forward, that it's going to land somewhere, that your dreams matter, that you matter. And so I had that experience. And so I'm releasing that doubt, doing the energy work. And as an energy worker, as an ascension guide, the thing that we know, that doubt is something that doesn't live in the third dimension, meaning that the third dimension is fixed. So that means that fear is it in the third dimensions. It's fixed. Whatever the 3D world is representing, there is no possibility to get out of that part because it's a fixed reality. But then when you go up higher in dimension, so doubt lives in the fourth dimension, higher fourth dimension. So, and then when we move into the 5D, we release doubt, we move into the 5D where unlimited possibilities happen. And, we can expand and grow from there. So it's one thing to know right away when you're fearful, where are you? Oh, I'm in the 3D. That's where I am again. I'm consciously, it's nice to acknowledge that, yeah, right now because I'm talking about we're multidimensional beings, and we operate in multidimensional ways continuously, where we're faced with something. And so you're either living in a bliss charged space, or where love, freedom, and unity and all of that, or you're in the 3D world of fears and anxiety and doubt and all of those things. So it's kind of nice to ask yourself the question, where am I right now consciously? And then you'll see, oh yeah, I have fear. And where does fear live? Oh yeah, fear lives, because fear doesn't live in the 5D. That's a good, that's a really good way to look at it. Fear doesn't live in the 5D, because we're multidimensional. So where are you? So fear lives in the 3D. And so then, okay, let's get out of there. Let's get out of that fear. How can we get out of the fear? And so again, when we're talking about energy, well, what is the fear? Well, I'm afraid that if I jump, I'm going to fall. That is the fear. That's what the body is feeling afraid of, that if you take that jump, if you take that step, if you do that, if you take a risk, I'm going to fall, I'm going to fail. That's the fear. And so again, it's an energy, but looking at you, are you going to allow that fear to hold you back, or are you going to override that as a conscious being and say, yeah, I want to transcend that fear? Because really, the physical body doesn't know the difference. Is it real or is it not real? And really, what does it feel like to fall? What does it feel like to fail? And just even give yourself permission for a few minutes to just sit there, because the mind is putting the program there. Oh, I feel fear. And then if you just allow yourself the space to give your body permission to feel that for a minute, because you're not really falling, nothing is really happening, but feel the feeling and then blow that out, release that, breathe that out, and override that consciously and move back into love, move back into the higher dimensional way of living and being. Change your mind.
Yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. And it also makes me think of like you can also use that fear to your advantage to some, they say like anxiety and excitement is the same emotion, right? You can either use it to amp you up or to just break you down, right? So one of my good friends who I've had on the show, Mike Pulowski, he was an NFL player. He always says like, okay, whenever he's feeling anxious, it's like his body getting ready to help him perform, right? So it's like your senses get heightened, your eyes dilate, your breathing gets a little intense, and like you can use that to be like, oh my god, what's going on with my body? I'm having a panic attack. Or you can be like, all right, I'm ready, let's do this. And it's just that shift in mindset that I love so much.
It's so good. I love that you said that, because as soon as you said that, my body's going into panic mode. One of the ways, what is the statistic that people have so much fear of public speaking? People have so much fear of public speaking. Like it's as strong as a fear as is death, maybe even stronger, of public speaking, speaking in public.
Right.
And I remember when I wanted to be on stage and be a speaker, I too had that fear. I had that fear. And so I created opportunities for myself so that I can overcome that fear. And then when I would go speak on stage, I was literally standing up there trembling, right? Trembling in my body, right? There's an audience, there's people sitting there looking at me, and I'm in my conscious awareness to know, yeah, I am totally in fear right now, totally scared, and my body's shaking because I want to overcome that fear. Because really, that was the thing. I did not let that fear stop me, like you just said. I created those opportunities for myself so that I can overcome that fear.
I love that. It's all about stepping out of your comfort zone and doing things that scare you. And I love public speaking, and I used to run a yoga teacher training, and I would talk to people about this a lot, because some people just took the training because they were afraid of public speaking, and it was a way for them to like learn to speak in front of an audience, which I thought was amazing. It's a class. And one thing that I always told them is, it's not about you, it's about the student, or it's about the audience, right? And if you focus on serving them, you'll get out of your own head, right? Because you can't create and analyze at the same time, right? You can't sit there and spin your wheels and think, oh my God, I messed up, or what am I going to say next, or all these things, and be serving someone at the same time. So if you focus on them, you focus on the audience, you focus on the student, the person you're speaking to, then it's not going to be about you anymore, and you're going to get out of your head. And I just and like you said, it's about getting out there and doing it, right? Like, get out of your comfort zone, go do things that terrify you.
Yeah, totally. I think that's such an important piece. It is about overcoming the fear, isn't it? It
Mm.
is about, that's what you were saying, how can we overcome the fear? We're afraid, we have anxiety, we're depressed. How can we overcome the fear of living our lives with everything that's happening in the world right now, right? Because there's really only two things. We know there's a lot of chaos happening on one spectrum, and then there's also those of us that are over here that are building beautiful heavens all over the place, and we're building beautiful environments. You're doing everything that you're doing with your company, with your family, all the wonderful things that you're doing. How many star seeds and light workers around the world are here building so many wonderful cities of love, cities of light, all kinds of fabulous things. And at the same time, the old world is crumbling, and war and all the things that is continuously being played out. We need to see this completely play out. And then we get to choose, while this is all happening, fear, fear, fear. Where do you want to live? Where do you want to live and spend your time? What is the best way for you to really show up in your 3D life and participate? And it's certainly not going to be in fear. It's going to be, you're the designer, you're the creator, you're the script writer. You are the one that you came here to choose your way out of it and create a reality, right? Change your mind.
Yeah, I love that you brought it there. And I've read and heard so much about that Earth is actually splitting, right? That this 3D Earth is kind of falling away, like crumbling, like you said, and this new 5D Earth is being born. And we all have this choice, right, of where we live, like you said, in peace and in love, or in fear and destruction and chaos. And from what I've heard is it's almost like they were two tracks running parallel, and now they're starting to split. And it's like, okay, you better choose what train you're going to be on. So how do you see that? Is it like two physical Earths splitting, or is it on an emotional level? Like when you're in the 5D, can you even see the wars happening? Like how does it all play out from what you know?
Yeah, I do see the war playing out, and it's almost like watching a movie. It's
Hmm.
like watching a movie. I do see the war playing out. I do see the movie, but I know that in my immediate circle, in my immediate environment, there is no war. In my immediate environment, in my body, like, like we said earlier, I feel home here. And because it's so good to have that feeling, because if I was to transition today, I'm feeling home taking that with me.
Mm,
So
beautiful.
it's such a beautiful place. So home, heart is wherever you are. Okay. So that's the level of embodiment. That's the level of peace. That's really how the new earth is born. Over the last decade, since 2012 or whatever, 2008, so many people have said so many things about the new earth, and the world splitting apart, and then we have three earths, and we have different suns, and we have all these things. And for me, it's very simple. I like to keep things really simple for myself, because the more complicated, it just doesn't work. It's like getting into a new car, and it has all these different buttons, and you don't know how to do things, and you don't know how to drive, and you don't know how to. I like more simplicity. I don't need all the things. So the way I look at it is, I look at it in old earth and new earth. Everything old earth is chaotic, it's war, it's disrespect, it's fixed, it's not willing to rise up, it's not willing to be made better. That's old earth. New earth is where I live, is where I am, because I've been a pioneer paving my way to be here. And one of the things I heard you say earlier when we started this podcast, even in the green room, you were talking about, I'm building, I'm building, I'm building. Well, you're building. I know where you're building. You're building in the new earth. That's where you're building. And so how I see it is, even though we may not be able to see the physical parts of all the things we're building, but these are all seeded consciousness that will materialize, and also others will be drawn to it, so that we can inhabit that new earth. And then what's going to happen with that old chaotic world? Well, one day, will we change the channel and it'll be gone? Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know, but I know that right now there's two, and that's the love and the fear, the old earth and the new earth. And that's how I like to keep it, just really simple.
I really appreciate that. I appreciate the simplicity, and it makes sense. And especially when you're talking about things being seated in the 5D earth and building there, it's almost like all of these light workers are starting to put the foundations there, right? And there's like cities that are going to be built, but we're all just kind of starting over there. And it does kind of feel like this transition space, right? Where some like we were just talking about, you had doubt or I had fear, and it's like you kind of wobble between the two, but ultimately you get to choose where you land. So, you and I are very conscious. We're very awake, we're very aware, and we probably have similar circles, right? Because we surround ourselves with people like that. But there's a lot of people on this planet who are asleep, right? Who just think that, work, money, entertainment, sleep, eat is life, and that's here, and there's this grind and life's happening to them. So, you know, I know we're here to help them awaken, but what about those people that just never wake up? Do they just reincarnate and try again next time, or is there a chance to pull them over with us?
I think, the more I think, first of all, let me just go back to what you said. I want to validate everything you said about, yeah, we're here to build, we're here to, um, you know, do all the things that we're doing right now. And eventually, things will bloom here in the new earth. So I want to validate that as part of our growing. Because what is it now, 2024? Where is it going to be in 6 years from now, and 5 years from now, when your little boy is 5 years old, right? And that's really what we're doing here, isn't it? We are here to build a new earth for those children that are our future leaders of this planet. And we want to do it right this time, because we certainly screwed it up before, meaning that what we've done before. So that part, we have to forgive ourselves for all the blind eyes and all the ways that we contributed to the wars and the things that we've done in lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. So that part, that self-hatred, all the self-forgiveness that we've had to do, right? All of that. So I just wanted to say that, finish giving you that validation there, that I really think that um, that's what we're here to do. And so what are we here to do with the people that are asleep, that haven't awakened yet? I think that that's really not something that we need to be concerned by. And the reason why is that the more that we shine, the more that we uh, integrate the light, the frequency that's constantly being downloaded with the solar flares and the space weather and the all the CMEs and all the things, the light that keeps coming in, we have to integrate that light into our physical bodies. That is a lot to do on a regular basis. And so we are becoming more and more and more light. Well, those people that are asleep, they are also, being affected by the light, even though they don't see it yet. But I think eventually what's going to happen is everyone chooses their own evolution. Everyone gets to choose how they want it, how the soul wants to grow, how they want to evolve. And it's not our business to tag them along or bring them along. If they're attracted to the light, and if they feel like, yeah, I want to go over there with Kris, and I want to be over there, and I want to be building with her and doing over there what she's doing with all the things that she's growing. I want to be over there with her. So I think that's how we can affect people, by being the role models, by being the wayshowers, by being the examples of our values, of what we believe in, and showing them what's possible with ascension, showing them what's possible here in the new earth. I just want to give you this little bit. It's interesting because on February 2nd of this year, my mother is 84. My stepfather, he's not really he's my adopted father, but he's my mom's partner, 89. There was a house fire, and they both lost their home at 84 and at 89 in a house fire.
That's
They weren't
horrible.
they weren't home when they weren't home when the fire started, okay? They were at the doctor's appointments, and on their way driving back home to their street, the street was blocked off. And they were like wondering what's going on, and then come to find out it was their house that was on fire. So thankfully, yeah, they weren't at home. But you could say that, do my parents really know what you and I know, being really conscious? So, you know, so here's what I'm saying. We just don't know, but I do believe that I supported my parents, because then everything was gone. And now we have to find them a new place to live. At being homeless at the age of 84 and 89. They were living in a hotel. I had to find them a hotel to live in. They lived there for 30 days until we found them a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment that they're still in right now, because it's a long road ahead. But I do feel that I brought them over to the new earth. I do feel that I brought them over to the new earth, and that I'm supporting them and helping them make their life here now. It's interesting because the apartment that we found them, that they're moving into, I swear to God, it's even a trip for me. Okay. I'm not even kidding, because it's a brand new apartment complex. No one's ever lived in there before. And it's got all the high technology of charging stations outside in the parking lot, right? Charging stations. It looks weird for them anyway. Okay. So charging stations, and then there's no cable TV or anything. They can't get their regular news. It's all streaming. It's all streaming inside. So everything is just weird. And of course, it's overly priced, very high priced, so it's also interesting.
So what is it? I mean, first of all, that's, my heart goes out to them at the age of 84 and 89 to like lose, and I'm sure photos and all these memories and things you've had for decades. Like that's got to be really, really difficult. What is it that made you know that you brought them over to 5D Earth?
Well, because what made me know is because I know where I am.
Hmm.
I know where I am, and I know what I've done in the last decade as a pioneer, paving the way. I know where I live. I know where I am. And so I know that I'm over here in the new earth. I live under the Rainbow Bridge. That's where I am. That's where my body is. That's where my being is. That's where I am. And the fact that I'm there supporting them right now in this process. So any person that is in my sphere is going to be talking with me in the new earth, because that's where I am. So it's, how do I know? I live here. I live here. So I'm in the new land, and this is all new. Everything is so new here that it's even hard for me to embrace all the newness. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. The reason why I know is because I know who I am. I know the work I've done. I know where I live. I know, that's why I know. So I live here in the new earth. This is where I am. And so it's very easy for me to know this.
Let me ask you, I believe everything happens for a reason, that circumstances and situations are set up so that we have the opportunity to learn or grow. Why do you think we're living in this world of chaos and destruction and war right now? And fear. What is that doing for us? What's the reason behind that, do you think?
Yeah. Do you think it's the last clearing out? Do you think it's the last clearing out? I think so. I'd like to think so, because I'm here for peace on earth. Peace on earth already exists within me. It's
Right.
already here because I'm not at war within myself. I healed that war. I cleared that war. That self-hatred that you and I were talking about earlier, that's already been cleared. That's already been healed. So is this grand war that's playing out right now, is it happening so that we can finally evolve as a human species, as a human collective, and stop it? Because when I wrote my book, Peace the FlipSide to Anger, which originally was not the title of the book. The title of the book was first called Peace is an Inside Job. But then I ran into somebody at the post office, and I had someone I hadn't seen in a long time, and he goes, "Oh, what have you been doing? What have you been doing?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm writing the book. I'm telling him what I'm writing the book about and everything." And then he says, "Oh, you mean Peace the FlipSide to Anger?" And I go, "Oh, that's really good." And I said, "That's really good." So then I changed the title in the middle of the journey. So the point is that we can't have peace on earth if we don't really acknowledge what it is that we've been doing. And so this war that's been going on here on this planet has been going on for thousands of years. And so maybe now as a human species, we are evolved enough to know that What causes war is angry people that, or uneducated, ignorant, angry people that do it. Because, a bomb is not going to go off by itself. A gun is not going to shoot itself. It is a human that is making a choice that wants some type of anger, revenge, or something to harm someone. But it's not just happening on the planet, it's happening in the solar system too. These wars, these spiritual wars that have been playing out for a long time. So you get to choose again where you are, where you want to live, where you want to be. Well, I am in peace, and I'm a peace activist, and I am for peace. And so in my world, in my universe, here in my immediate environment, that's what I'm here to speak to, model, show the way, act in peace and love. And so is it possible that the earth is going to experience 1,000 years of peace? Is that possible? I believe so. And is this the last remnants of the war playing out so that we can finally say enough? Because right now people are sick of it. They're sick of it. People are sick of this war.
Yeah, I love what you said, that, there's first of all, angry people create it, and there's no war within you, so you don't have this war, because peaceful people can't create war. War comes from angry people. If you're having a war within yourself, it's going to reflect in your outer world. If you only have peace and love within you, that's all you can project onto the world, right? Which goes back to being within that 5D frame. I was thinking as you were talking, I'm a big Dolores Cannon fan, and she talks a lot about background people, where we are, I think you even said it, we're the writer, producer, director of our own script, right? Our own life. And we have these supporting characters who come in and out, who are contracted. But then there's this idea of background people where they're kind of like the extras, right? To make the scene feel more realistic. But they're there just to maybe teach us something or to show us something. So like, are all of these people who are engaged in these wars and the media and all of this, are they real souls? Are they really here, people that we were talking about earlier that we're going to help rise in consciousness? Or are they just background people that are kind of holographic projections of what we're feeling within ourselves?
Yeah, I'd say that number two, what you just said, number two. And here's the thing, you and I right now, we are living where we're living. You're not in Iran. You're not where the war, you're not in Ukraine. You're not. There is people that's living over there. There is people that are suffering. There is people. But in your immediate sphere of influence, in your universe, you are exactly where you're meant to be right now. And you're exactly where you're meant to experience and create your heaven on earth, like I like to say on the Kornelia Stephanie show, your heaven on earth, your peace on earth. You get to create and embody that city within you, because you are, look at the people that you're influencing, Kris. You're influencing a lot of people through your your company that you're creating, all the things that you're doing, your child that you're raising, your husband that you're loving, all the things that you're doing. You're doing a lot of wonderful things. So you're influencing in a lot of great ways. So the more that you can do that, that is what to focus on. It's not that you're not seeing what's going on, and it's not that you're not having compassion to what's going on for those other people, but on a soul level, if you were meant to be in Ukraine right now or in Iran right now to learn something, you would be there.
Yeah.
But you're here. So that's how I look at it. And, tend to your own garden, tend to your own garden, tend to your own, atmosphere where you are, and speak to the injustices, because I'm sure you have many. I'll just leave you with this one last little quick story. And that is, I was coming out of Walmart, and did I tell you that story already?
I don't think so.
Okay, because I can't remember when we talked the last time. It was such a great conversation. You're such a wonderful host. You're such a wonderful host, and you're such a wonderful guest too.
So are
So,
you. Thank you.
oh, thank you. So I was coming out of Walmart, and there I was looking. There was a lady across the street at the bus station, and she was sitting down, and there was this big guy, and he was standing over her, and he was going da da da. You know, he was yelling at her, like screaming at her, like this, right? And I see this in my environment. So that's war. That's war.
Yeah.
And so I thought to myself, I got in the car and I looked around in my car and I go, can I invite this lady in my car? Like, is there anything here that I need to protect? And I looked around. And so my thought was, I'm going over there and I'm going to give her a ride. Okay, I'm going to go over there and give her a ride. So I drove over there and I drove slowly there and I rolled my window down and I looked at her and I said, "Excuse me." And she looked at me and I said, "Do you need a ride?" And she looked at me and she said, "Mind your business."
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? So it's like, oh, okay, well that's an enjoyment for them. They're obviously doing background people. I really didn't need that experience. I mean, it was just really, what are you going to do?
Well, it makes me think about how some people identify with their own trauma, with their own illness, with their own drama, with chaos in their life because they feel so comfortable with it and they're so afraid of growth, right? They don't know any better, or the idea of changing is really terrifying to them. So, I see it all the time with like illness. Like I went through that with my mother where like, some people don't want to get better because they there's perceived benefits out of being the victim or being sick. And I think that you saw that firsthand. But that's, yeah.
But here's the thing, like one of my values is women and children.
Mm,
I'm going to support women and children. That doesn't mean I don't support men too, but when it comes to like in my environment, if I see something going on, I'm going to speak to it. If a woman is being abused or if a child is being abused, I'm going to speak to it. I'm not going to just put a blind eye. That's what we've been doing.
yeah.
We've been doing that. And so that's why, again, being a wayshower, being an example, it doesn't mean that everyone knew what I was doing, that I was offering this woman a ride. Nobody even knew. Nobody cared. It wasn't about that. It was like, really, it's a value of mine. It's a value of Christ.
You know what I appreciate is that it was a kindness that you were doing, and in order to make the world a better place in that moment, you offered this kindness, this help. You offered a helping hand. You weren't out there trying to like fight for it. You know what I mean? Like so many people, there's like the whole social justice warriors movement, the woke movement, where people are out there trying to like fight for change. And like we've been saying this whole time, you can't fight for peace. Peace doesn't come from angry people. And you were, and I just want to clarify this for listeners in case they're like, wait, you were just saying, there's a war over here. We don't have to get in. We can see it, but not get involved. It's different because you you're being that light, that beacon for others, right? And you're helping rise the level of consciousness in that moment. You're having compassion in that moment.
Yeah, it's exactly. And so that's the part. Or I could have been angry myself, but the no anger in this vessel because I know how to release my anger. I'm not going to put my anger out at someone. That's the whole point. That's the reason why I wrote the book. Anger is a wonderful creative fuel that we can use if we don't use it to harm people. If we don't use anger to harm people, or if we don't use anger stored in our physical body, creating illness, because anger is a hot coal. And underneath that anger, there's always a truth that's waiting to be claimed by you. Why are you pissed off? Why are you angry? There is a reason underneath there. Most of the time has to do with you not being heard, you not being listened to, you not being validated, you not being respected. Something that you couldn't communicate because you had so much anger underneath there that is this hot coal that needs to come out. And it's, that's the reason why I think people pick up a gun. That's the reason why people in a bar where a fight breaks out, because they're pissed. And instead of taking a step back, oh, I'm triggered. I've got 1,000 bullets going off in my body. Why am I pissed off? Really looking at, instead of harming another person, really looking at what is underneath that anger. Get that anger out of your body. Don't pick up and hurt that person, because that's really continuing doing war with war. And that's what we're tired of. We're tired of war with war. We can't elevate and create a new earth if we're doing the same thing, as Einstein said, with the same consciousness that created those problems to begin with.
I love that quote. Yeah, no, I really love that example too. And yes, I agree so wholeheartedly with everything you said. And oftentimes it's covering up deep sadness, right? There's like heartache under there, but people don't want to feel that heartache. They don't want to feel that pain. So they use anger as this protective mechanism, but you're doing yourself a disservice, right?
Yeah.
And I like that you use the word trigger, because our triggers are just mirrors, right? They're just showing us what's unhealed in ourselves. Like anything that's going to trigger you from another person is just showing you where you have your own healing to do.
And yeah, and can I say something about Kris, about when we say that, the trigger, it's something about, that you have healing to do. It sucks. I
Oh
just want to
yeah.
say
Yeah,
that part
totally.
totally sucks. It totally sucks when we're triggered and we realize, oh, more? Oh, more? It's that. Oh my God. Yes, it sucks.
I think that's so important. Like just because you're awake or you're conscious or you're healed doesn't mean that life's not going to keep happening. There's still work to do. If you're alive right now, you still have lessons to learn, right? There's deeper layers and you're constantly going to go back to the same things. It's like a spiral, right? And you're like, shit, I thought I healed this already. But they're going to learn deeper truths. So that's important. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, and the other piece is, we are learning lessons. And then at the same time, now that we're living over in the new earth, 5D, practical 5D, building upon that 5D foundation that you spoke of earlier. Now that we're doing that, living life beyond duality, if we've experienced the war playing out and we've raised our consciousness now, we've traveled over here, pioneered over here to the 5D, now we're laying our foundation down, we're building over here now. And so, in here, we're not per se experiencing the duality, the contrast that we used to experience over there in the 3D. Over here, we know how to value and honor and love and respect each other, because when I come to your home, I know what I'm going to be bringing and I know what I'm going to be getting back from you, because we're going to be honoring and respecting and loving each other, because we know that those are our values. That's what we're laying down. That's the foundation. That's the code. It's the code. It's the code, right? It is the code. And so, from that place, and then what else are we capable of over here now that we've learned the lessons, and we're still learning lessons, but what else can we do with our superpowers now? What else can we do to create the miracles? We talked about this earlier, the destruction and the miracle playing out at the same time. So what else can we do here now, that where we can, we're still learning our lessons, but also what miracles can we create over here?
I love that. I thank you for flipping it in that way. I really appreciate that, because yeah, we're here to learn lessons, but we're also here to grow this new earth, like you've been saying. So I love that. I appreciate it. I think it's a great place to actually just leave off, because there's endless possibilities and we get to manifest this new world of how we want it to be. So that's a really beautiful thought. So, Cornelia, I'm sure everyone listening is just, loving you and wants to hear more and, wants to connect with you. So, where can people find you? What are you up to these days?
Well, the way where people can find me and keep track is on YouTube. Go to Kornelia Stephanie YouTube, Kornelia Stephanie Media Group. Go there. I'm going to be launching several new initiatives here very soon. And so people can go there to keep track of everything that I'm up to. all the ways where you can listen to podcasts, Apple, all Spotify. You can find me there, Kornelia Stephanie. And you can also find me on my website. If you want to email me at cornelia@korneliastephanie.com, you can email me there. Or then there's social media, and it's Kornelia Stephanie on all the platforms. So I'm really excited about what we're creating. I'm really excited about the new. I'm personally still recovering as well from just the PTSD of all the change and all the things. I'm also releasing and letting go of just, I told a girlfriend this morning that I feel like over the last decade per se, like we've been at war, like literally like at war, like just standing in that darkness as light. And now it's like, okay, you can go over here now and uh, receive all the new. And it feels a bit much, honestly. I said, it's like, give me a minute. I need to catch up to that. That's kind of how I feel at the moment, because the sun is shining, and it's shining that energy there. It's like this new bloom that wants to come out, this new life, this new birth. So this is how I feel personally. And I'm just, my physical body is still a little bit in shock from all the things over the last decade, per se.
Well, I appreciate your vulnerability and sharing that. And, listeners, if you're feeling that a little bit too, you're not alone. And I think it's probably par for the course, right? There's a lot of shifts happening, a lot of change happening. But, luckily we are connecting with other light workers. We're building this all together. So I appreciate you coming on. If you're listening and this resonated, please like, share, subscribe, send it to someone you think would find it helpful. And I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day.